Selectmen.
I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America,
and
to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Hey. Does anyone have anything they would like to add to the agenda? Karen? Do you have anything you want to add to the agenda?
Yes, I do.
Karen's going to be taking a seat.
Okay. Just an update on the phones. We're still working on that. There's a delay in the order due to shortage on microchips. So, hopefully we can resolve that relatively soon. We are
Right.
working on it.
They are working intermittently. I found if you hit 0, it goes right to a phone that someone will pick up.
Can answer.
Yeah.
Did we kind of put that on the website, like to hit 0? You know what I mean? Like to
When
whatever
we
works best?
When we tested it last week, if you pressed number 1, that seemed to work. So Lisa put that right out on the website for us. However, that doesn't always work. So, yes, I guess press 0 unless you know the extension that you want.
Right.
Extensions have been coming right through to us. So just keep trying, or
So if you press the extension that you know, it'll go through.
it has been coming right through. Yes, except
Yeah.
for town clerk, tax collector, for whatever reason, because they had a separate number. Even if you know their extension, those don't seem to be working. Selectmen's office, our extensions are working. So I would say just either email town clerk, tax collector, or press that 0, or even call assessing, any of us in the selectman's office, and then we've just been transferring the calls over to town clerk office, and that seems to work.
Yep. Patience, you will get through eventually.
Yes.
Did they give you any estimate on when we might get the stuff?
Well, they're saying 4 to 6 weeks, but they're hoping to, get a large shipment in. They can't promise anything
No,
to
no.
us. And they certainly didn't want to, say they could get it any sooner. So we'll just hope that it does come in. The other thing I have to report is Highway Department truck number 26 developed a leak. So they had to get a water pump, and they went out and got that. It's $560. Certainly within their right to do so, but an added expense. And then
Leak or something?
it said developed a leak and is leaking antifreeze. So. And a couple things that was added. There is a letter from the Attorney General's office that would probably go into new business. You can discuss that when you get there. I just want to throw out on the assessing contracts. I did call a couple other towns. One town reported they pay $54,000 a year. The other town pays $45,000 a year. Our assessor is $37,000 a year. So you just want to make a motion to approve that assessing contract when you get there?
Yep.
That would be fine.
Okay. So I'll take a motion to approve the minutes of November 2nd.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes, October 22nd, November 22nd, October 22nd,
November 2nd,
November 2nd,
not November 22nd. but-
whatever.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Is there any discussion? Ed, I know you haven't read them yet. Have you read the minutes yet?
Yes.
Okay. So we'll do it. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
You want to abstain until you actually,
Yes.
Okay, these can go down to Ed. All right, and then, okay. So for action items, we had payroll manifest, the TDS agreement. I will need a motion for the chair to sign a total of 4 TDS phone contracts. That's for each department, including the town hall.
I'll make a motion for the chair to sign the agreements.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, and then I'll need a motion for the chair to sign the municipal assessing contract to RB Woods and Associates. Do you have what the amount is? I don't have it off the top of my head. 22,000 and
37,200, I believe.
I think it's in the,
Can I just see the red folder for a sec, for just a minute, please?
37.
It's just over.
see, he has the twos in my head now.
Actually, it is, my goodness, last year, it was 37, 37 something. This year it's 38,622.
Okay, so for the contract will be $38,622 to RB Woods and Associates. Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion for the chair to sign.
Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
You can choose which one you want. Okay, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. All right, under new business, Karen, would you like to discuss the tax rate?
Yes, we were finally able to set the tax rate. I'm happy to report that the rate went down. Last year's rate was $23.10 per thousand. This one is $21.96 per thousand.
A reduction of $1.14.
Yes, and so certainly county went down. The school budget went down. The town went up a few cents, but we were able to, and we received a lot more in revenues, especially rooms and meal tax than what we anticipated. So we were able to reduce the amount of money that we use for surplus each year. And so with all that, yes. Had a good-
And hopefully people will be pleasantly surprised when they open their tax bills.
I got a
Expecting
text
the worst.
from
It won't be as
Shannon.
bad.
We'll see.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh,
Yeah,
I
I
could
mean-
add that the bills are just being printed. They should be out.
We just found out
early
April
next
school
week,
is shutting
and
down
then
for the
do
week
30
due to a
days from
spike
then.
in COVID
So,
cases at
Great.
the school.
Okay, and we have
We tested
the
yes,
New Hampshire
April
Municipal
yesterday and today,
Association
and she is
dues. I
negative.
didn't see that folder,
So
so.
she's going to have to be home the rest of
Do
this
we need a
week.
motion on that or?
Wasn't
just
sure.
informational?
No, that, it just
A,
goes into the budget.
She'll be
So
comfortable
when
watching
the board is reviewing
her
budget.
Thursday. B,
They
That's
which
send you anything?
you have Wednesday or Friday available too.
kind of
If you'd rather stay away,
getting
just in
for
case,
that?
I would.
They do. They have a whole page and a half that talks about what they offer.
Send
each
one
of-
of these.
Yes, it'll be in the new business and it should be attached to the
Excel
appropriation
video.
that they ask for.
Okay.
So, yes.
But Karen and Elsie have some, here's the agenda,
All right, and informational items,
some letter from the Attorney
miscellaneous.
General.
We did get a letter from the Attorney General's office in regards to a citizen's complaint regarding the visit from the Women for Trump last year. This was a violation of the State Hatch Act. The Attorney General has concluded that there was no violation of the State Hatch Act, and they did make some recommendations in the future, similar to when the federal U.S. Department of the Hatch Act investigated with the same type of recommendations, which is to just don't hold anything political on town property, pretty much is basic, but there was no violation whatsoever of the Hatch Act.
There were other violations.
Great. Do we have any other miscellaneous?
I think
Okay.
that's it.
All right. And do we have any public announcements? We do, just as a reminder, on Thursday, there is the Veterans Day celebration in front of the town hall here. And then I think it's 11 o'clock in the morning.
Yes.
And then at noon time at the police department, they'll be holding Veterans Appreciation as well as in front of the memorial, a barbecue starting at noon time, I believe.
And I do want to add that we did receive an email request from Jane Westlake
Oh, yes.
regarding the redistricting. So if you want to speak to that, Diane, she asked, if a letter could be, done and maybe sent over. I just received the email yesterday, so we haven't acted on it.
Yeah, they would have to receive the letter. I think the next public input's 5 o'clock tomorrow night. So at this point in time, what's been proposed is right now we have Belknap District 7, a seat for just dedicated to Barnstead. That will be eliminated. That will seat will be a dual seat with Alton. And Jane Westlake has requested that, obviously, but she feels, and I'm sure many people feel that I feel that Barnstead should have their own representation from our town. So what is the will of the board to send a letter strongly stating that we feel that Belknap District 7 seat should not be combined with Alton, that it should be autonomous to Barnstead? You guys' thoughts?
Well, didn't they vote to consolidate that anyways? Didn't we already vote on that?
Did we vote on it? No, they just sent the information out on Monday. That was, they just, I think it's probably one of the first draft proposals. I think, is that how it works?
Yeah, they're having, right
Hearings.
now they're having hearings on it, so the public can comment on the districts. They're meeting all over the state, the Committee on Redistricting. So they're taking input at this time. These will
that's not-
probably be revised. I mean, these are probably gonna change, based on how they vote. I mean, it's these may change again before they're finalized, is what I'm saying. But I mean, they're certainly taking input. And if we feel we want to advocate for Barnstead to have their own, I mean, I think that's fine.
We have the population for it.
Yes, we have the population for it, but when they do districting, they combine towns together
Yeah.
based on population.
And ours would be Barnstead, Alton. Similar to the seat that, is it Barnstead, Alton, and New Durham? I think, or,
Barnstead,
Gilmanton?
Alton, Gilmanton.
Okay.
Is what it's known as the flotarial district. It's when you're in a
She's gotten even bigger.
district that tries to compensate for that, the
Right.
additional people.
So we could basically have two seats with no representation for Barnstead potentially. So, I think we should send a letter stating that we feel Barnstead should keep our seat.
Yeah, when you word it, I wouldn't word it as that we won't have our own representation, because even if the person is not elected, they're supposed to be representing your town. I'm just saying, you want
Right.
that that won't probably. They'll say, yes, you are representing. I mean, I think we want to advocate for why we feel like
Yes.
we should have our own.
Okay. And I think we've probably run into this before anyways, haven't we?
Yes.
Some point in the past. So,
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah.
And how is the board in a consensus to send a letter?
Yeah, we'll see it before it goes, right?
I am.
Karen's gonna have to email it out to us tomorrow because 5 o'clock is the deadline
Oh.
tomorrow night. It's like they give a lot of notice, they send it out Monday and they give you
And I
Tuesday,
think-
9 o'clock. and-
I think they stated a couple different dates.
Yeah, it was
So-
this morning at 10
Oh, it
a.m.
was this
and
morning and then-
tomorrow night at 5 p.m. So.
Yep.
So you can draft something and send it out in the morning or,
Yes.
okay. Are you okay with that, Ed? Are you okay? Okay. you okay with that, Paula?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we have a consensus to,
What do you think is wrong?
what do I think is wrong with you?
Sometimes you don't hear.
No. I was just gonna-
She's huge, Derek. She's
Okay.
huge.
Is there any other public announcements? Do we have anybody online that wants to make a public announcement?
Porter.
No? Okay. Okay. So seeing no public input, we are going to go with our 5:15 appointment, and we are going to have the fire rescue 2022 proposed budget.
That's the new chief, right?
Yes. Just make sure you're talking to the microphone.
Everybody have a copy of the spreadsheet?
We all on the same page. Page one. He just wants to go through it line by line. You want to look at it, ask questions the way we came up with stuff, or I've never sat on this side of the table.
We could do line by line, or if anyone has any questions regarding a particular line, is it easier just to ask if there's a question about, I'll ask if there's a question about that line. How about that?
Sure.
All right. Okay, so starting with 1-110, does anyone have any questions regarding fire rescue full-time?
How many paramedics does that include?
Danny Conger, Jimmy Robbins, and Will. Three. No, two paramedics, two full-time, who's part-time.
Okay, well,
I'd like to suggest to you that you increase that by one.
Okay, you got a recommendation? Good.
And
Well,
most everybody knows what I'm talking about. You've got your full-timers that are making so much overtime that we can't afford to pay them, and they don't have time enough to take the time off. So your statistics to us once a month on the pie chart
Yep.
indicates that there's definitely a need for additional personnel. We have the work. The excuse that they don't get enough hands-on training here in Barnstead is no longer a factor as far as I can tell.
You are correct.
And I had Karen yesterday do a little research for me. And the cost of one additional paramedic would be about $120, $125. Is that correct?
1,000.
So my suggestion is that you factor that in.
Add it to our, okay, add it to the,
I don't know what you have factored in here. But I would suggest you start with what you were approved for last year, which is 339,000,
yep,
and add on from there.
okay, 125. Okay, we'll do our best.
That's my suggestion. I don't know how the rest of the board feels.
Well, Ed, I think you had that information. The rest of us have not had a chance to digest that information. So I think if we could receive that information too before we finalize any type of fire budget, that would be great.
Also, could you give me the breakdown of how that 125 split between the lines?
Yes,
Salary benefits. everything,
Yes.
correct? Yes.
I agree with you, Ed, but there's a few other areas in here too. That your part-time. Part-times, still have 50% of your part-time left. And your overtime, you've exceeded your overtime. You see what I'm saying? So all your overtime's being taken by your full-time guys? Is that what the deal
No,
is?
no, it's about 50-50.
Well, that can't be. Not according to you got 65 see, what is it, 48% left of your part-time. Right?
Yep,
Your overtime is over budget, correct?
Yes.
yep.
So that means your full-time guys are pulling your, all the overtime. Part-time guys aren't working at all.
Yes, they are.
Yes. they
About
are.
50% of the time. We're doing our best to hire part-time people before we hire full-time people. And one of our things that we are doing is manning that truck, 2 people.
Keep in mind that with personnel changes, that's why that number has fluctuated and is not at the point. Last year, we had someone that was working probably 32 hours a month and now, or so, and now they're not working quite as much. So that's going to impact that part-time line.
All right.
Yes, you're right.
I'm
2
always
people.
right. Well, two, but yes.
Yes.
So the 6 full-time is the 2 paramedics and 4.
EMTs
EMTs.
advanced.
Okay. And then I can see where your part-time line is made up of. All right. Does anyone have any questions regarding either the full-time or the part-time line? Okay,
Will you get back to us on Selectman Taskman's recommendation?
Yeah.
Thank you.
So does this mean we can decrease the part-time?
No, that part-time line number's been built from a hard number.
it well, it already is decreased. If you look at
It is
what
already decreased.
the
That's-
town vote, the town meeting, that's what the budget was last year, and they're only requesting 133,000, so it's already a reduced number.
30,000.
So that would not need to be reduced at this point in time.
I just have questions about the secretarial 20-hour week, if that's really what we need, 20 hours a week, because we've been operating without that for quite a while now.
Yeah, at my expense. We budgeted next year for 16 hours a week, Paul.
Okay,
Okay,
There'll be a
some,
reduction of about 208 hours.
I have the administrative assistant at 14,957 in my budget.
yes, that's gonna be on your page. The breakout here. Okay. Is there any further questions regarding part-time? Okay, call firefighters compensation. You want to increase that by 15,000?
Nope, actually, that's level funded. We combined lines 120 and 130 together,
Okay.
so it's
Gotcha.
level.
Okay, level funded. Does anyone have any questions regarding call firefighters compensation and maintenance? Okay, seeing none. Overtime? You comfortable at 40,000?
If my part-time budget stays the same, I think I can swing it at 40. If you're gonna chop from part-time, we're gonna have to put in actual expenses of overtime, which are running, what are we at, like 57,000 already this year, I think?
So if you are staffed with the 6 full-time and your part-time at 133, are you still thinking you would need 40,000 in overtime, or would the 20,000 would not suffice?
No, it would not.
Okay, so then that kind of falls in line with what Ed is looking at. All right, so that's part of that further discussion then.
yeah.
Okay. All right,
And we had a lot of, especially with COVID sicknesses and due to the fact that a lot of these guys are gonna have to also take all their vacation prior to January 1st. We have a ton of vacation this year.
right. So then next year, it can be spread out through the year. So we don't run into the
Correct.
late fall crunch. Okay. Healthcare is marginal. Really no, that's probably just a position.
Yeah, the healthcare, all the way through retirement and even the workers' comp, that's all set. And it's all based upon, these figures are based upon their request. And the increases
based on,
that came with the 2022 health insurance increase. So those are set numbers.
okay. So then moving down to 1-390 memorials and awards, you look like you're level funding that.
What is level funding?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
yes.
A professional dues and fees, your level funding.
Yes.
Administrative supplies and expenses. Tiny increase, if even.
Yeah.
$75
Must be the
increase.
same
The
as like last
inflationary
year.
measures on a lot of lines that we'd like to level fund, but we just know we can't because of what's out there in
Right.
the real world. We added 3% to those lines.
Workers' comp is another that's town.
That's
Handles.
set.
Phone and cable again. All right, so let's see. So durable equipment, gas powered vent fan, is that the difference?
Yeah, so that's basically, we level funded it at 8,000 and we added in 1,500 for a gas powered vent fan, which is something we do not own now. And it's kind of the industry standard now. And this is obviously gas powered fan that we would put in your doorway to blow the carbon monoxide out of your house if you had a carbon monoxide leak. And it puts out about 10 times as many CFMs, cubic feet per minute, as the electric fans do. So we could make that environment safe in a much faster manner with this $1,500 fan.
Okay,
How come you still have so much left in there?
I think we were holding out on that in case we needed some money to outfit the pickup because it's still out in limbo whether you guys have money for us or not. There's certainly stuff we can buy that we've foregone.
and that's something that we'll review probably in the next couple of weeks, I think, Karen.
Yes, just keep in mind, there's 13% of the budget left for fire department, if you look at the bottom line. So even though some of the lines may not be fully expended,
Others
some are
are.
over expended, so, and both Will and Al are very much aware of this.
Yeah.
So,
Will,
Okay.
what's his last
All
name?
right,
He's a retired
disposable
Concord firefighter.
equipment, inflation
He's-
increase. Does
He's
anyone have any
a,
questions regarding disposable equipment or
he's one of the few
uniforms?
medical examiners in the state.
Uniforms are for new
Existing
So he
and
called
new.
out for deaths.
replacements and stuff.
Somebody gets a ripped shirt or if somebody's shirt has a hole in it, we'd like to look presentable at all times. And that's what the taxpayers pay for. So that they actually have to request it through me. They just don't have a free reign with that. So somebody's pants gets ripped or something, or they just don't look fit for the job. We buy them, one pair of pants, and we shop around. We actually, for our embroidery and everything, we actually went to Manchester and found a better deal than we were getting almost half the cost for the same shirt.
Great.
All I do is I run to Manchester on an early morning trip, pick all the stuff up. We just had a new firefighter, Todd Nicholson, so we had to give him a couple shirts, a couple pairs of pants, a pair of boots, and a belt.
Oh, okay, great. Does anyone have any questions regarding uniforms? All set? Okay. Level funded personal equipment,
Face is getting a
paramedic
little raw
intercept
there.
level funded,
See that?
physicals, just a marginal increase.
Her face is all raw again on us.
Yeah,
Because
and
she
that
spent,
actually came off
over
a
2
hard number
hours
that
licking,
Concord
licking,
Occupational
licking.
Health, who the town has a contract with, they
This isn't
emailed us
from
their
much
price
of
for
it.
next year, and that's a hard number based on
It's
5
from
physicals.
digging in her
Okay.
face.
Does anyone have any question regarding physicals? Okay. Fire prevention and fire safety training is a level funded. Well,
I
When are you
need some
gonna
help
do
with
the,
this one box.
smoke camper thing again?
They're not doing it this year because the school opted
COVID.
out due to COVID. Yeah.
So maybe once
So I need
things
to answer
straighten out, I'll start
Shannon.
doing that
The
again.
one thing we'd like to do is that trail is sitting out there in the field. It really should be on a concrete slab or something. We really would like to do is just pour a slab out here sometime, use it for a dual purpose, keep the trailer on it. And then if we do any training or anything, we have a solid surface to work on. That's something we may want to think about.
Didn't somebody talk about getting rid of the trailer?
How much did you use that
Getting rid of the trailer?
trailer last year?
We did not use a trailer in the last year.
Why don't just get rid of it?
Because it was a grant at one time and they have used it in the past for the kids for education.
I'm well aware of how and when it was used and how
A
the
snip.
department was compensated.
Okay.
That trailer has no love lost for me. sell it tonight, I'd be happy.
It's an effective tool, Ed, for kids though, and how to deal with fires.
When it's used, it is.
Right. But I mean, obviously it couldn't be used last year. You had COVID. I mean, people weren't even in the school. So I mean, last year's really not a comparable year.
She's right.
Was it used in other towns as well? Did Barnstead let other towns use it or?
It's open for other towns to use if they want to, but if it's our staff on our payroll, we only go here.
So maybe it's a revenue raising tool. Something to look at in the future.
If we're going to push the use of it, we're going to have to put some money into it as well.
Yeah.
So we're kind of treading a fine line here, which direction we go with that.
Okay, but it's something that you could look at and either make the recommendation to get rid of it or refurbish it.
We can do that.
Okay. Okay, training is remaining the same. Communication equipment, can you explain the increase?
Yep. Get sloppy notes so I can read later. The rescue, the heavy rescue that sits in the middle bay here at Station 1 is, I think, 13, 14 years old, and it has original equipment radios in it. Those radios in there are outdated, unserviceable, and we can't get parts for them anymore. They are still working right now. We're just looking to upgrade the radios in that truck so that they'll be serviceable, up to date. Guy can come in and program them if he needs to. And what we're going to do is we're actually cutting down because that has 2 mobile radios in it now, because we used to work off 2 different bands, if you will, when we went south of here. Merrimack County used a different band than we use. We don't need that anymore. We can accomplish it with just 1 radio. So we're looking to get rid of those 2 outdated ones and put 1 modern one in it. And then it has 6 portable radios in there. And because of staffing, we could never staff that truck with 6 people. So we're going to put 4 of the new style portables in there. So it'll be 1 mobile and 4 portables is the increase in that line.
Okay. Does anyone have any questions regarding the communication equipment? Okay, seeing none. Lakes Mutual Fire Aid marginal increase, that's due to what they agreed to, correct? What
That's a
everybody agrees to?
contract.
Yeah, contract.
We've been advised by them that that's not the bottom line. There's going to be another small increase because they're in the process of negotiating pay rates with their employees right now.
Okay. Great. Equipment maintenance, repair, rental is level funded. Computer maintenance and contracts. Could you explain the increase for that?
Want to talk to me? You want me to keep going?
Keep going.
Okay, so that was based off of kind of level funded. It's the same number for Cybertron as we had this year. It's the same number for service calls as we had this year. What it's an increase of is what we've all known as coming is our firehouse reporting software. It becomes exempt on December 31st. We have found that they are going to service us into next year and give us a little bit of wiggle room, but our annual renewal contract on that is due in February at 2,900, let's say. So we're going to want this new software in place before that time, so we're not paying twice for it next year. And so this will be our reporting software, and that's, I've actually gone a little bit light on you there because there's $1,000 setup fee that I figured we could eat with somewhere. It's $6,000 for the first year, and then it's $5,000 every year thereafter. So I figured we could come up with that extra $1,000 somewhere, hopefully keep our service calls down, and we can charge it off to that.
Okay. So you're only budgeting 5 out of the 6.
Correct.
Does anyone have any questions in regards to the computer maintenance contract line? Okay, seeing none. Diesel, which are you comfortable at 4,000? I know diesel's gone sky high lately.
I'm not comfortable at 4,000. We're already at 4,800 for this year. But Karen told me that we have a safety net for that somewhere, and I was okay to level fund it.
Correct. You have an expendable trust that has, I believe, 26,000 in it for
That's for the oil and the,
emergency,
Yeah, okay.
right, in case prices go crazy and.
Which they
yeah.
have. They're up
Yes,
over
they
$1
have.
a gallon from when we
Right.
wrote this budget. So I'm
Right.
sure that's all of
so
it.
this is a fluid line. Okay.
Along with regular fuel too.
Yeah, so fuel and motor oil, again, that's gonna fall under the I'm just putting a note here that it's fluid and then trust count. No. Okey dokey. Truck and vehicle maintenance. You have a nice little increase there.
Yeah, because of the fact that since we did not receive the grant for the new tower truck, we are keeping the tower truck we have, but it does need some new tires sooner than later. So we need to get the tires, and also every year it goes on, trucks get older. And we have
Like
more-
us.
we have a few more problems with it. One of the beneficial things is the new ambulance will be coming in. So whatever we are spending to keep the other ambulance on the road, we won't have to spend that additional
Right.
amount. We'll
So
have that
good.
new ambulance, we'll have a warranty and everything else. Right now, everything's up and running 100%. Everything's in great shape, knock on wood. So hopefully things will keep going the same course on the road, and after that expenditure for the tower, unless something else comes up, it's an unpredictable number. I mean, today, everything could be working today, and tomorrow you could have a pump blown or anything, just like we had in the tower truck earlier this year, a hydraulic pump blew. And we still don't know the reason why. Even Sean, we still can't figure out exactly why it happened. And it's all being maintained, taken care of properly and everything.
Okay. Does anyone have any questions regarding truck vehicle maintenance?
Can I add on to what the chief said? Last year, we had 23,000 in the budget and we got it cut to 18. And it was kind of a trying point to see if we could make it at 18, and we can't. So that's why we put it back to where we were last
Right.
year.
Okie dokie. Inoculations, you have a decrease. Let's see, electricity, that's going to be another fluctuating. Can't really necessarily nail that number. So you're comfortable with 8,000 and reducing it by 1,500?
Actually, I do the electricity and heating based on, our current contracts
Mhm.
that we have, and projecting out to the end of the year. It looks like 8,000. That, of course, that figure could change in December when we get our last bill and we look at the contracts. So
And-
it's an
Okay.
estimate.
And one of the things we'd like to do in the future here is we'd like to change a lot of the lighting to LED lighting.
Yes.
I mean, we have
Did
the old.
did they get
fluorescent
that? They did? Okay.
Yeah, we'd like to do that. And we're very conscious about lights being left on, anything being left on. Him and I are constantly reminding the staff, if you're not in the room, shut it off. And we're doing the best we can to micromanage that.
You also look at the motion sensors, like
Mm.
when someone walks into a room, the light will stay on, but when they leave or there's no movement, it'll shut it off automatically in case they
That's
forget to flick a
another thing.
switch.
We could look at switches being installed. That'd be excellent. Great
Do the
idea.
clap on, clap off.
Good. From Wales Station.
We're not
Gary-
that old, Diane.
Gary is.
Sit there, walk around. Okay, heating, that's gonna, of course, be part of the, because oil, oof. I mean, should we relook at the oil
Are those
price
fixed prices?
and redo it, what we got for the bid?
So the bids, actually, right now, we have the most favorable prices of anyone, but these contracts will end in June. So we'll be looking at, probably higher prices, October, November, December. At the time that we got the bid prices, they were not going out that far ahead to let us lock in. So as I said before, we'll just monitor it between now and December, see if we can lock in at a price for the whole year. If not, that figure may fluctuate.
Yeah, because I mean, we could just put the amount in for like the first 6 months and then do a,
And again, we have that
Fund.
expendable fund.
Yep.
If, if it goes way up.
I have a question. Has someone ever looked into our town energy alliance?
We did. We usually look into them every year, and as well as the companies that we've used, Rhymes,
okay.
Huckleberry. We usually look at least four or five different areas. So,
and we used to be part of a consortium but that consortium kind of split up a little bit and now it's a lot
Right.
smaller than it used to be.
Right.
Everybody's kind of gone off on their own.
Yes, and
Because
it-
a lot
I
of them
did-
don't want to commit to, even with volume, they don't want to commit to a price anymore. So a lot of the language that's in there that you're thinking you're getting a great deal on, if, for example, it's a mild winter and you don't use even a quarter of what is projected, you still have to pay for it.
Right.
So that's the drawback of joining like the consortium versus going on your own. What rate did we initially get for the first 6 months?
Correct, we're at $1.73.
$1.73.
Uh,
And it's already up to
this is
309 or
actually-
something like that. I
I'm
think.
not sure that that's correct. That
I
may
think
be
that's last year's. Yeah. I think we
numbers
were
in
two
there.
something, weren't
I
we?
think we're at 230 because I
Yeah,
think.
That sounds
um,
familiar.
The school locked in at 240 something. But speaking with the SAU, we were not part of that this year. Next year, we'll look at the schools,
Doing
going
that
together,
again.
maybe getting some better prices.
Yeah.
Right,
But we
and-
got a better price than the school.
And I think we're 164 for propane.
You are 125 and that
Okay.
was thanks to Stacy.
Yep.
Every year she's gone out for the propane prices and done very well. So, yes.
So
Really
what's the
good.
5,300 gallons that's estimated? on what we
That's
used this year already?
Right. Typically what I do, I go back 3 years just so I can make sure I capture a really cold year. Last couple of years haven't really been too drastic, but yeah, I use an estimate. And
So that's only 6,600.
right, so you have propane plus you have oil. So what do we have? About 13,000 is what, actually, if that's the wrong price, though, you can't go by what's written there, $1.73.
Right.
It would be $2.30 for that. Propane stayed the same.
Okay.
Yeah, so don't pay any attention to what's written out.
Yeah, the notes will
Right.
be, the
I
notes will
will
be
get that.
updated.
That's why I was confused.
Yes.
Did
yeah.
you have a question, Ed?
This is something that's going to keep changing.
Yes.
And I suggest that we just keep an eye on it. So comes time to submit the budget to the budget committee and even we have to change it later on, do that. I don't quite understand how 7,600 and 5,700 equals 15,392.
I think the notes just didn't change. That's all.
Right, the price is wrong. That's last year's numbers, Ed. And so this spreadsheet that the department uses, it had last year's figures in it, so.
Well, again, I just
not
suggest that we
correct.
keep an eye on it.
The 15,000 is the correct number, but the notes don't equal the correct number. So they'll be updated to reflect that.
More interested in
Yep.
dollars per gallon.
So we pay about $2 and I want to say $2.29 per gallon that we locked in for the first 6 months for oil. And then $1.25 is locked in for propane.
Apparently, we've got almost 6,000 left over. You expecting a fuel fill up anytime soon, chief?
They do it on a monthly basis. They'll come automatically. They're automatic.
Right.
Or you probably got one more fill up before
Yeah, I'm
New
sure we
Year,
have one more fill up.
maybe
We
even
have
two.
more than one.
Yeah.
Yes.
So,
We turned the heat down because I bought sweatshirts for everybody this year.
did what?
I bought sweatshirts. I turned the heat down.
Okay.
Good job, chief.
I got you one too.
Okay. So heating, we're all set on. Any further questions on heating? Okay, building, furniture and fixtures, marginal increase.
Yeah.
Anything specific?
Just actual expenditures. It's pretty modest when you look at the millions of dollars of buildings that we maintain.
Yep.
And we were totally expended by September this year. So we've increased it a smidge for next year.
Okay.
What exactly are you intending to purchase or furniture and fixtures for the firehouse? You've got a new bathroom.
Well, I think the paper you're looking at is outdated because 630 in the actual budget is buildings and grounds.
Yeah.
Say it again.
This should read buildings and grounds.
630.
Oh, okay.
630.
Building and grounds.
Say buildings and grounds, not fixtures.
No, furniture fixtures.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we had to have, we had a major clog this year, a sewer clog, clogged up the main lines. We had to have a plumber come in, run a new pipe, clean that out. We had a boiler issue earlier this year. Our boiler is ancient. We're gonna have to think about how we can replace that sooner or later. And when we do replace it, we're gonna have to comply with all the standards and have a separate room if we go with another boiler. We have other options we've talked about, which I think will work out much better in a long range forecast here.
I suggest you work with the building inspector. He might have some ideas on how to go about making your changes.
Okay, that's a great idea.
Just to add, the issue with the plumbing did get moved out of there to the town hall and other building account.
Thank you.
Okay. Fire alarm system, level funded.
And one thing we'd like to do is, our fire alarm system is an old system, probably, I'm not sure, 15, 20 years old. It's actually connected by 2 telephone wires. We've had a lot of problems with it. I'm suggesting that we come to type of a cellular radio box type system, which is transmitted through a cellular wave and something we can convert over. I've talked to a couple of people already and trying to get prices for that. Because right now, we do have problems with the system. It goes into a trouble, and it's not because of the system, it's actually the telephone lines. So it's like the old computer systems when it ran on, a regular telephone line. That's what our fire alarm system is running on right now.
Okay, so that number could change. This number will
Right.
potentially change
Right.
once you get the
One of
pricing
the
information.
good things is when Station 1 did get hit with a electrical surge, we
They
do have
updated
a
it.
fairly new receiver there, so we can adapt it and just go from telephone to more of a cellular service.
And if I could add that all the fire alarm systems in our buildings are copper. They're a hard line, telephone line. So we're looking at changing all of those and going to what would be a cell device that it would ring to stop these problems. So as you know, the phone issues we're having here with Town Hall, some of them, certainly it's connected by a hard line to our fire alarm system. So that's why we're trying to limp along with the phone system we have until we get our new one so that we can keep our fire alarm.
Now,
because
when
it's very
when
important.
the fire department phones get upgraded, is that something that they could
Yes.
actually wire in at the time? So that way it's being done anyways.
Yes, so that will not have to be in their budget because the police department, highway, town hall and fire will all have that newer updated equipment with the phone system.
So that's, you can maybe let them know the phone system and then work from there, because it's gonna be like the TDS VoIP system.
Yes, and some of the cost of the initial installation, a lot of those costs will be covered with COVID money.
Right.
Because it's an eligible purchase.
So this number could even maybe go down a little bit or even go up a little bit, but it would be marginal versus a huge impact. So I'm not sure when you're getting your new phones because they're waiting for the chips to put in them. So as we all know,
Yeah.
chips just are nowhere to be found. So that is the main budget. Do you want to talk about your requests here that you have? Warrant article.
If I see the one that's in your hand or packet there, we don't have that because we just upgraded and went with the typed copy from last week. I don't have a
Okay.
copy of that one with me.
Do you want to look at this copy?
I'd love to.
Yes,
Is this the one that it's not on the back? You don't have that one? I'll have to read yours.
Yeah, the only thing, yes, is the water filtration system's on there, right? No, the water filtration system is not on there. That's one of the capital improvements we wanted to make. The hot water at Station 2 has a disgusting sulfur smell to it.
Oh,
I
yes.
had Epping Well and Pump come in and run a test, and the water is fine for consumption. It just smells.
Mhm.
And the system that's bid for, I think it was $37.50, right?
29.
$29.50.
$29.50. He says we'll take that smell out for us.
How did the water test?
Fine,
So it's potable, but it's just smells.
correct.
And do they have a filter which will take care of that smell?
Yes.
Are you hoping they will?
Yeah, that's what I was
Oh,
gonna
they do.
say, because Epping has the same type of water and water filtration system, just, yeah, didn't work.
So this is the price for that filter? Will, this is the price for that filter?
$29.50.
Yeah.
It was actually a little bit more than that, but they gave us a 10 or 15% municipal discount.
It was 3,200 to begin with.
There you go.
On both of these issues, the backlot paving and water filtration system, have you talked to any other vendors besides Epping and R&D paving?
I called Culligan 3 times and failed to get a call back or anyone want to come and see me. They have too much work
Who's
apparently.
Culligan?
Culligan's out of Laconia, Meredith up
For
there.
water?
somewhere. That's who has our water system at Station 1, and I wanted to duplicate it because it works well, but we can't even get them to come and service it.
I know the school uses Guilford like
Guilford
well or
well
something
or
like
pump?
that. Yeah. I
Yeah,
don't know.
there's got to be some, we ought to at least have
2 or 3 more.
two,
pumps.
yeah,
Okay.
and both on the paving as well. We
Okay.
should have,
And the paving was supposed to be a deal by George.
well, I want to
It
see
didn't turn out
something
much of a
else.
deal.
I don't want to go by a deal by George. I want to
Right.
personally, I can't speak for the whole board, but I want to
Karen,
know.
that well serves the town hall and the library too, doesn't it?
You're talking Center Station?
Yes.
Yes, so it just serves us. Library is on
Okay.
their own and church is now on their own. So
Have
it's
you,
just
have
fire.
you
and us.
noticed any smell from our water here in the
Well,
building?
we do. So we just have a filter system. We just buy the little filters. I, for the life of me, can't think of the
Brita.
brand name. Brita. It's just a Brita filter. It takes, because we have all our public buildings tested, all the water. So the water is fine except for the smell. The Brita takes care of the odor and, you know.
Yeah, they're
so
not taking
I use it.
showers here though.
Right,
Is it-
we don't have,
Not
right.
the-
Is it
Yeah.
both
Yeah.
the cold
Just-
water and the
The
hot
problem
water?
is we have like 8
Oh.
or 9 water.
Yes.
out.
Yeah.
You guys have 1 or 2.
I do want to point out to the board, these would not be warrant articles. They would just go into the town hall, another building account that you budget every year for. Yeah, so,
Okay, and the COVID grant money requests.
and before Will speaks to that, could I just add some information? Because Paula had mentioned, and we had gotten some news about more emergency relief money. So we have $50,000 that is available. So what we'd like to do, and we can spend that money
You
anytime.
just added on to the
This is over and above everything else
350.
that you're, yeah, the 400 and whatever that we're getting. And so the only conditions that come with this is that we have to spend 55,556. So what we're looking to do, and we'd like to order it immediately, is the auto cot loader that you have about 55,000, and then enough of the masks so that we come to $55,600. Then we get reimbursed the 50. So I'll talk with you tomorrow about that. If we could just
Yep.
get those orders, those will
You-
all be taken care of, and the rest of the stuff you have here is certainly COVID eligible.
Okay, so you can cross that off the list.
Don't cross it off. Give it a check mark.
Yes, give it a check.
Okay, and on the radar. Oh, so we-
Talking
Yeah.
about capital improvements needed immediately.
Not yet.
Not
They
yet.
haven't gotten.
No, where's that?
Okay,
It's on the back.
Oh,
read them off to me, Diane. I don't have a copy of that.
the, on the radar. You have 2025 to replace engine 2 and tower 1 with new Quint.
Yep. we can
Humper
cut-
combined with 75 foot stick ladder. And then 2026 replace 2016 Dodge ambulance, which is a 10-year cycle. Okay.
Yep, and I actually, Karen's been harping for something a little more detailed for you guys, so I actually almost have like a 10, 12-year plan mapped out here, so that stuff is in it.
And I think that's going to be really good to have for the budget committee because they like to see replacement cycle. Very important.
One question. Do I harp?
Well,
Just a little
sing,
humor, just a little humor there.
maybe you were singing to me, I'm not sure. I think she told me it's a third strike, you're out, so here it is.
Okay, so capital improvements, I think we already discussed the boiler, correct?
Yes,
Yes, and one of our suggestions may be a
Mitsubishi.
kind of a
Split
mini
system?
split
Yeah.
system.
Yeah.
Which would cover your air conditioning and your heating at the same time.
and it's a lot smaller, and we won't have to build a separate mechanical room.
And it heats very well too, I might add.
Very efficient,
Yeah,
yes.
it is actually very efficient. When you can figure out the controls for it to get it to switch over to heat or to air conditioning, but yes.
Okay.
If you do have, by the way, 3 different of the mounts, and it's all going off the same unit, you need to make sure you change all 3 remotes onto the same setting, then it will work.
Ah,
Okay.
note to self.
Just good to know. We talked about lighting that you want to
Yeah, we'd like
switch over to
upgrade
LED.
Lighting, and that would also, the upgrade itself initially may cost a little bit more, but the LED lights will last for a long time and they will save a lot of money over a 10, 20-year period. And, you know, you suggested the switches. I think that's a great idea. When you walk into a room, switch will go on. If there's no movement in that room for 2 or 3 minutes, they go off. That's an excellent idea. We've been pretty conscious about shutting lights off and making sure lights are shut off and fans and everything else.
And sometimes you walk out and you think you're
Right, or
coming
you-
right back and you don't, you know?
You know, we've noticed sometimes when, especially at night or something, if they're in the room, they have a call, they don't go around shutting all the lights off. They head towards the
Well,
ambulance.
yeah.
And if they're gone for 2, 3, 4 hours, I mean, all those lights are on. So that's a great idea.
Okay, and Station 2 apparatus bay floor.
Yeah, if you take a walk over here, you'll notice we're starting to see some major cracks now. When the floors were probably poured 30, 40 years ago, the apparatus was much lighter. They weren't as big as heavy. Now we have bigger apparatus, they're heavier, and I think it's taking a toll on the floors. And anytime, any one of you can walk over and see what we've been trying to do. We've been trying to patch them up, but it seems like they're almost moving. And every time we do a patch, it just comes up.
Okay,
While we're there, if I may, Ed, do you have any history on what was underneath that building?
Is that just a ball field or? You don't? Okay.
All right,
The one you should ask is Bill Goss, if you could ever get in touch with him. I believe he was, I think he was chief on about that time. That was in 74.
are there any plans for that building anywhere?
Huh?
Any plans for that building anywhere?
Speak up.
Plans, any plans, blueprints?
Most of the people who were involved are dead now.
Right, but blueprints don't go in the grave with people, so that's why I'm wondering if there's any blueprints anywhere.
You don't understand how buildings were built.
Yeah.
back then. It wasn't always
He's
with
right.
the blueprint.
That's not the way it works.
But
I know we do have blueprints of Station 1. They're upstairs in the attic. We do have those blueprints, but we'll look into it, seeing if we can find.
The
some of
the only thing that probably was built with plans over here was the metal superstructure. Everything else was, well, what do you think?
It's true. If you look at the wiring, it was everybody's wiring from home. They brought a piece in.
That's Dave Murley.
That's comforting to know.
I'm not sure Dave was even here then.
No?
I think he moved to town in the mid 80s.
Hmm. So door locks. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like we've had this discussion before.
Yeah.
For the door locks.
We haven't taken action on it, but we have had this
Now,
discussion.
did we do anything with monies? Was that something that we
We've,
encumbered or?
we've installed 5 cameras at Station 1.
That's the cameras, but I'm talking about the fobs because you had a huge
No.
concern.
We're
a while ago.
we're waiting for the proposal from the security company
Okay.
for the fob.
Now, did we encumber that money last
No.
year? Or is that, so that might be something if is it in the budget? Because I thought we budgeted for it.
Well, what has been spent in that line,
Ended up the
there's
security cameras.
$4,000 left for the year. So, because you know that town hall and other buildings, as you go through the year, any other, things that come up for repairs, emergency repairs. So, yeah, as I
So
said,
that
there's
was
only
COVID-related,
4,000.
Issue because of the fact that we're trying to keep the firehouse locked down, so not everybody just enters it at their free will, because we have no idea how many keys are out
That
Could very well be.
Yeah.
But we could look at that.
How many locks are you dealing with?
I counted 8 the other
8?
day. Yeah.
That actually makes a lot of sense because if you don't know who's in the building, you don't know that might need to be sanitized or something like that.
Right,
So
exactly, it's
that's
accountability.
yeah.
Sure, maybe.
Okay.
I'll look into that.
All right.
Spread it as far thin as we can, huh?
So is there any further questions for the fire department budget?
Only thing I can see that I'd like to comment on is on the radar. It looks like in 2025, you're planning to replace engine 2 and the tower truck.
Now, we were looking at 2023, 24 for that.
Well, it doesn't really matter to me. What I'm going to say is this. I know, and everybody else knows, that tower truck spends half its time in Pittsfield. So if you want my support, Pittsfield better be paying for half of this. You got plenty of time to work on it.
We do. We're looking to change the plan, though. It's not going to be a tower truck that we're looking to buy. We think that a tower is too much for the town. So we're looking at a pumper truck that carries a reduced amount of water and would always run with the tanker by its side. And it has a 75-foot straight stick ladder on it instead of a bucket tower truck.
Does Pittsfield have anything comparable?
No.
That means yours is going to spend half its time in Pittsfield. And the other thing that you boys need to think about, again, you told the truth. You showed us in the pie chart where you spend your time. And you are spending less and less time fighting fires. And that truck that you're proposing, I don't even have a clue, but I'll bet you it's well over 500,000.
Oh, yeah.
You're right. And that's another, we're also gonna go for a grant again, because we've got some statistics and data, reason why we didn't receive the grant. And Chief McCahey did an excellent job in identifying, what we need to do for the next grant. And if we do receive a grant, it will be for $1 million for a ladder truck or a combination. And that would be a great time for us to jump on. So we're going to reapply for that grant.
Okay, because Sean had emailed just before the meeting, and I had sent an email to the chief and Will, I'm not sure if you received it, only that Sean has identified the areas in the grant.
Yep.
And would like to resubmit it. He only has 4 weeks to do so.
Okay.
So I mentioned your proposal of a combined vehicle. He said it would still be eligible. However, it would be a lot more expensive. And he does state that while the grant is great, they're limited to $1 million.
Right.
So if it was just a tower truck, the town would still have to come up with about 395,000. I'm not sure what that does to the figures if it's a new combination truck. I've just added up all the figures that we could spend on this, and we've got about $510,000 so far. So that's the dilemma. If you can push it out for a few years, are you going to guarantee we can even have a grant? Or do you go for a grant now? And if you do, you only have 4 weeks. So just something that I'll need to know for budget.
Yep.
No
Budgeting.
pressure.
The other thing, and Will, you know this as well as I do. Getting around Lock Lake roads is nearly impossible. The bigger those trucks get, the harder it is to make turns.
Mhm.
You might want to just take that into consideration. Because if they can't make those roads because of the tight turning radius, think smaller.
Yes.
Does anyone have any further questions in regards to the budget? Thank you guys very much. So
Thanks,
you'll get
guys.
back to us with the information in regards obviously to the grant and all that.
Yep.
Sure.
Key fob quote. What else is on our little
The
list here?
water filtration system.
Yep,
The additional,
Paving quotes.
paving
the
quote.
additional hire or proposal, right?
The other thing on the paving is we don't really know what's gonna happen out here.
Right, so,
You know, we don't wanna spend a bunch of money just to rip it up later. We wanna take that into consideration as
Okay.
well.
that's fine. I mean, we were only going with the paving only because supposedly George said we could get a great deal on it.
And it probably is. I mean, it's not about that. It's about spending 15,000 and then ripping it up.
Correct, and we don't want to do
You know?
that. That's just a waste of money.
And the fire alarm system as well, now that we're gonna have the VoIP system coming in the next few weeks. So that'll give you a chance to get an updated one.
Other than the personnel adding a seventh, none of that affects the budget itself though, right? That's all stuff that you'll fund out of town hall monies and things.
Correct.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very
And
much.
you'll get that information about for the COVID money to Karen, the 55,000, blah, 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 blah. You guys gonna get together and talk about that?
I just.
For the
we didn't
left.
Get to the mass price, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
Auto cot loader. Okay,
thank you very much.
thank you.
Thank
guys.
you.
Guys,
No department heads are here. Does the budget committee want to give us a little update on life?
No.
I'm just kidding. Okay, public input. Do we have any public input? Mhm.
say that again.
He says it's a bad idea to add a full-time paramedic without missing overtime. He says adding 125 K is not going without studying budget modification. He says, are we talking adding a position of converting to a paramedic without cost additional 125 K? Regarding the smoker they have, is that effective and how will it measured? He's not a fan of the power truck. He said that multiple times. Yes, and when did a cellular line become more reliable than our points? What are the recurring filter costs? That's that.
Is he still on?
Yeah, those are all.
So Bill, can you make sure that you submit all of that to Karen? Again, this is just what came up tonight. We have not finalized this budget. This is information that the rest of this board was not aware of that Ed had requested. So this is not anything that's set in stone. As far as the filtration system, obviously, we're going to need more pricing on that. That is not just for the fire department. That's also for the town hall. So that could come right out of the fire department, correct? If it's is it just their well or is it?
Well, I'm not sure. I'd have to look into it
Right.
because it would have to come out of the line that feeds both of us to go through a
Right, so
filtration.
it would be a shared cost versus just the fire department. I would think
Yes,
then,
I
right?
can say for us, ours is
Yeah,
cured by the
so
Brita.
Brita filter could possibly,
We don't want to spend any money on it here.
yeah. So again, these are all information that they presented tonight. So if you could submit your questions to Karen. These are probably the same questions we would be asking. And again, we threw in some, wrenches into what they presented, so they have to come back and present us with further information, so. Thank you. Okay, do we have any further public input? No. Okay, seeing none, we are going to close public input, and do we have a non-public or next week?
I think it will wait for next week.
Okay, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion.
We have it. Ed moved and
I'll
Carrie
put Gary
seconded.
in second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much.